So we didn't die last night, which is pretty good.
Day 3.
Technically, we're doing the video for day 2 because we were super exhausted after a really long but awesome day 2. So we made the choice to crash and not make video for day 2. So
altogether, so you know, we drove about 450 miles on day 2. So that was yesterday.
We took off from
Grand Junction, Colorado.
Junctions, went straight to Arches. Holy moly. Great. Like, if you have to put something on your list, Arches is definitely on there. We got the reviews from a lot of John's friends.
Yes.
And, I mean, obviously, if you look anywhere online, Arches is on the top of pretty much anyone's list, or at least on the list of top 3. So.
And we only did, like, one little trail in Arches. I would love to go back to Arches at some point.
There's so much to explore. There were a couple of sections that were closed due to flooding, which is just, we're in monsoon season. It's so dry out here. Any rain they do get, and it's super huge storms.
Mm-hmm.
Any rain they do get, it creates flash floods everywhere. So there were sections that were closed, but I don't feel like I missed out on anything. In fact, we couldn't have put anything more in our day.
No, not yesterday.
So we could not have done more.
No.
And yet we did such a small portion of what the park had to offer. We did the Devil's Garden, I think is the area, which is kind of the farthest you can go into the park. It's just absolutely beautiful. There are sections of it that they get a little bit treacherous. I think treacherous is an okay...
Of the actual hike, not the drive.
Right, not the... Sorry. Once you're on the hike, there are parts of it that are, I would describe as treacherous.
Yes. Yes.
If you don't have good balance, you might be worried about falling off of a cliff.
Or shoes with traction. Because I brought my very worn out shoes that I thought, this will be a good idea. This will help me grip the rock better. But if there's sand on the rock, it doesn't help you grip so much.
There were times where there was just sand and John would step and you could see the perfect tread mark of the shoe from tip of your toe all the way to the middle of his foot. Not any traction. Zero, flat, completely flat. So that was crazy.
Yeah.
Beautiful park. Hopefully we can share lots of pictures because it was amazing. Full day of that, and then we had to pretty quickly book it down. Right.
When we looked on the map, it said that it was going to be 2.5 hours from Arches to the place where we stayed last night, the Lake Powell Manor, which online looked a little sketchy, and we thought we may get murdered there.
We nicknamed it the Murder House, and not rightfully so. I mean, couldn't give better reviews. It's an amazing couple that has this very, very large home. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a bed and breakfast / Airbnb kind of situation. But incredibly understanding when we looked at the map for the second time, actually getting on the road, and it said
4.5 hours.
4.5 hours. So, doubling our travel time.
And both of us had looked at that time. I pulled it up and said, this is manageable, right?
Absolutely said 2.5 hours. And then once we were leaving the park, it now said 4.5 and gave no explanation. We didn't really try to go another route or trick Google into giving us another route or anything. We just kind of said, okay, but it put us really late arriving at the manor.
But they were very nice, very
nice,
kind.
very understanding. We are very apologetic. We are so sorry for making you stay up and wait for us.
The room was really cool. It was called Mario's room. It had 2 twin beds in it.
Totally Mario themed. So everything was red and blue, and they had Mario figures on the wall. The clock was Mario themed. The bathroom was Mario themed.
It was great.
Everything was Mario themed. It was very cool. Couldn't have been a better experience.
Yeah.
So
we have a lot of questions that we had yesterday.
Of the day.
450 miles will give you a lot of questions.
That's right.
So why don't I start?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So we went from finally
you memorized everything.
No.
Okay, good. Sorry, we have notes because we don't memorize everything. And I was tricked. I was like, what? You memorized it all? I have notes. I'm stupid.
No.
Sorry, continue. Okay.
We finally crossed into Utah, and we crossed the state highway. And I was like, that is a honeycomb for the state highway marker.
I'm not convinced.
Galen wasn't convinced.
I wasn't convinced.
What did you think it was?
I couldn't tell. It looked like some sort of dwelling.
And at first you said it was, you thought it might be related to the Mormon...
What?
Was that you? No?
We're not editing these, so I'm not sure what that is.
No,
no, definitely didn't say anything about the Mormons.
But leading into that, what is Utah known for?
Mormons?
Yeah, there you go. That was my answer, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, in fact, it is a honeycomb.
Oh, wow, okay, cool.
It's an old style one called a skep. SKEP.
It does look like what you would stereotypically see Winnie the Pooh carry.
Right.
Kind of that shape. That
Exactly.
A little bit stylized.
Yeah. Long story. After the Mexican-American War, from 1847 to 1848, somewhere like that, the states finally had that territory. Finally, that was never theirs to begin with. We took that territory.
We tend to do that.
Mormons settled there, and they applied to name that territory in 1849 the territory of Desiree, which means honeycomb.
Oh, wow.
The national government at the time denied their application, but made it the territory of Utah in 1850.
Okay.
And along with that, they accepted the honeycomb as their state emblem. So according to the state Salt Lake City Desiree News, and this was back in 1871, it stands for Industry, Harmony, Order, and Frugality of the people of Utah. Okay. And so that's one of the reasons they accepted it.
So it is actually a honeycomb.
It is a honeycomb.
Cool. Well, honeycomb or a nest.
Honeycomb.
It's actually a honeycomb.
Whoa, you're right. It's a nest. It's a hive.
Right, okay.
A skep. A hive.
Right.
Yes.
Within it, there would be honeycombs.
Hopefully.
That's right.
If you did it right.
Unless it might be a dead hive. That's sad.
But those, I found that from a very interesting article about the law enforcement services here in Utah.
Oh, cool.
And so I'll post, of course, we have all the sources
we'll post all the
below.
Links, yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. That's good to know. So it was actually a honeycomb.
It was a honey, or honey,
a hive. Yeah, okay, cool.
Beehive.
I said nothing about the Mormons. I don't know where they came from. Cool. So what I had, John's phone was dying incredibly fast. Like, we're both iPhone users, and most of our friends are, and I mean, his phone was dying super fast. We're talking within half an hour, or maybe like an hour of waking up, you were like
I was at 72 is when I first noticed it, and that was within half an hour of starting our drive.
It was dying super fast, and we were like, "What's going on?" And John had asked, "Well, maybe I should close my apps that are running in the background." So he was looking. I was like, "That doesn't do anything. They don't use battery when they're in the background."
Yeah, it definitely uses battery power. It has to.
Yeah, right. So John said it totally does. I said it didn't. Question of the day. The short answer is you're wrong, which I knew, but that's okay. I did a little bit of research just to confirm that. Citing CNET, there was actually an email sent out by a user, and it was sent to the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, and it actually made it to Craig Federighi, who's the Senior Vice President of Software and Engineering, who responded to it. The question was, do you close your background apps and does it save your battery? And he said, the email was 2 words, no.
Wow.
So he obviously busy guy, didn't have a whole lot of time to respond, but
but where's the proof?
Where's the proof? So Apple themselves in their support structure, in their menus, or not menus, but online, Apple's official sites say that background apps, once you close it for a period of time, will remain active, but then they go dormant as background activities. And they don't use any resources of the phone, so they're not using the RAM or power.
Like Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So now they have what they call background updating, where an app will periodically check in.
Yes.
But it doesn't do a full dump. Doesn't do a full download of information. So it's like your email. You'll get a notification saying you have a new email, but it doesn't necessarily pull your entire email down.
Gotcha. Until you open it up, and then
when you open it back up, it goes, "Oh, here's all your emails."
Okay.
So long story short, it doesn't actually kill your battery. Good to know, all of you who are double-clicking and going through and swiping and closing things. He keeps his very neat. I have like 40 open at all times. My entire phone, every app is open in there, and I don't close them because it doesn't do anything. So there you go.
Yeah. And your battery life has been pretty good.
Has been pretty good, yeah. So.
Third question. That was the second. Third question. We're driving along. We're approaching Moab, which is then you turn off to go towards Arches National Park, and we're used to this reddish color that we're seeing in the mesas around us, and we're like, okay, that's iron. We kind of
get used to this very Martian red.
Yeah. Which
was astonishing at first. Especially for us coming from Seattle, we're used to green, and everything around you is so earthy, but this Martian landscape of all these reds kind of becomes the norm after a while. Right. After you kind of settle into, wow, this is so vibrant.
But then we turned this bend, and there was like bands of green.
Yeah, clearly green.
Very green.
Yeah. Maybe turquoise.
Turquoise.
Yeah, but a green.
Definitely green. Yeah, muted green. So I looked that up. That is due to, so the red is due to iron, and when the iron oxidizes, and, that kind of thing. The yellowish, whitish is usually due to sodium and calcium deposits. That is also very frequent around here.
Yeah.
But the green is due to chlorite or iron silicate. Silicate. So chlorite or iron silicate. This is according to also the National Park Service again,
right?
As well as geologyutah.gov.
Oh.
So I'll post those links. But that indicates, that green band indicates when it was a drier period during the paleo.
Wow.
I wrote it down because I knew it wasn't paleo environment in the drier periods, where instead of it being more sea lake-like, it became swamp bog-like, and so different life forms were there, and so
that's cool.
Deposited green instead of red.
That's really, super awesome.
Really cool.
That is really cool. Well, we'll keep our eyes out for more green, and we'll actually know what it means this time. That's pretty cool. Oh, so the other one, when we finally made it to Arches, we were going up the hike, and you would see juniper trees all over, and
which is kind of ironic because they're thriving in the desert. They're not just surviving in the desert. They're not dwarf trees.
No. Some of them are thriving. Tall trees. And actually, one of the interesting facts is that juniper trees vary from a small bush all the way to a very tall tree. So it just depends on their environments, and there are 40 different species of juniper. Anyway, sorry. The question was, are juniper berries poisonous? And so, kind of the theme from you especially is, can I eat that?
Can I eat that and live?
And how much? Is that going to kill me?
How much beet juice will I drink and
still
survive?
There isn't actually a quantity based on this question, so I didn't go after that. Right. But essentially, 40 species of juniper trees / bushes. Most of them yield what they just consider kind of bitter fruit, if you will. You can eat them. They're not going to be pleasant to the taste, but they won't do much to your ingestion or anything like that. There are the numbers I found were just literally, they said a few species. So I don't have numbers on that as to exactly how many are poisonous, but there are a couple that are poisonous. Okay. So if you don't know what it is, don't eat it. But okay, so here's
that's just general advice.
That kind of covers everything, but in this case, juniper is what we're talking about. The most common one is the flavoring juniper. Okay. And that's in Asia, Europe, and in North America, and that's what's commonly used for gin.
Right, because I kept saying it can't be too poisonous because we put it in our gin, but then...
Yeah. What I thought was interesting was they were actually talking about growing your own. Some people actually grow their own juniper berries. There are other uses for it. Okay. It's they commonly call it the flavoring juniper, and so it's actually used for flavoring and other things. Yeah. But the berries take 2 to 3 years to ripen, and I believe that's a single crop. Wow. That's a long time for a single yield. So they were actually saying, a lot of the sites were saying to put nets over the trees and things because the bees, they're not the bees, the birds will come in and steal 2 years worth of a ripening fruit from you and curse you, birds. So I mean, interesting. So again, if you don't know what it is, don't eat it. But interesting. You're probably okay. Again, if you're not eating huge quantities of it.
There were a lot of berries, though.
There were a lot.
And very close to the trail. So I can imagine if they were super poisonous, there would be a sign or something.
Or they trim them back or something. Actually, they'd probably put a sign because it's National Forest. So.
Okay, so my last question number 5. On our way from Arches over to the murder house, Lake Powell Manor. Which was amazing. It's not the murder house. No. It's really nice.
We nicknamed it that very falsely. So
that's fine. So. We passed a big lake, Lake Powell. And the town outside of Lake Powell is called Page, and it was established in 1957. And that made us start to think, I wonder if Lake Powell is natural. And then, of course, we drove by a dam.
Not natural.
Definitely not natural. Yeah. And so then we were saying, well, how old is that dam? Lake Powell was created in 1963. Okay. Well, that's when it began construction in like. What was 59. The question? How old is Lake Powell?
Okay. Oh,
so here's just the lake. Yeah. Okay. How old is Lake Powell? But here's some other just facts regarding the lake. And this is from lakepowell.com. And they have a whole history section, which is really cool. Cool. And then also tataandhoward.com, which is a organization that is working on water conservancy. Okay. Just throughout the states. Anyway, so they built the dam. It was completed in 1963. The dam itself, which is the Glen Canyon Dam, is 710 feet tall. Wow. So it's a lot taller than I thought it was when we drove by. It doesn't look that tall. We didn't get
a great perspective, but that's that's taller than what it is.
Really tall. And Lake Powell is the second largest man-made lake in America.
Oh, wow.
The first is Lake Mead, which is a little farther down on the Colorado River.
Yep.
And the Hoover Dam.
Yep. Wow. Cool. Very cool.
That's mine.
So the very last question we had that day was we were driving down the road and we saw something that said engine brakes prohibited. And neither one of us knew what an engine brake was. So it was just a curiosity question of, hey, but what's an engine brake? Which actually you probably have heard of a compression brake. Right? Is it compression brake? Compression brake.
Sure.
No, okay. You haven't heard of a compression brake.
No.
I've heard of a compression brake, but I've never heard it referred to as an engine brake.
Okay.
So it's commonly referred to as a compression brake. You'll see, at least in Washington, most commonly the signs will say compression brakes prohibited.
Right. Yeah.
The reason they prohibit them a lot of times is they're
incredibly
loud, and the reason is the process is essentially in between cycles of the cylinders.
Yeah.
They open the valves and release the pressure from the engine, which it's kind of slowing the vehicle, but essentially it's actually starving the vehicle of a certain amount of that energy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's an interesting process. So
is that loud? Like
that's exactly it's that you'll hear driving down the road.
Interesting.
Yeah. So compression brake versus engine brake. You may have heard it called a Jake brake or a Jacobs brake as well.
Okay,
those are nicknames. So
cool.
It's a compression brake, and usually the signs prohibiting them are because there are neighborhoods around and stuff like that. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
The
more you know.
Da-da-da.
Are we going to insert that?
Sure.
Probably not. Copyright issues. We can't do that.
In fact,
we
we'll
probably
do that.
shouldn't hum that. La, 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 la. Anyway,
because we do so much editing.
I know. Yes.
On these
yes. This is very edited. So cool. That was day 2. So thanks.
We
for
were
watching.
exhausted. We got to sleep a little at Lake Powell Manor, which is great.
Yep. But awesome day.
Awesome
I
day.
wouldn't trade Arches for anything. That was fantastic.
Well worth it.
Probably go back because there's still so much to explore. So put it on your list. Thanks for watching. Bye.